Hi everyone, it's Kristi. Welcome back. We are working on our vintage Shabby Rose mini journals, and we are going to be making two of them with the one kit by Happiness and Crafting, G. Kerr. And I've got two full-size pages pulled out that I want to use for the covers of these journals. And then I have one full-size background that I want to use for the inside covers. Actually, I think I need another one of those. I think I'll use this one. Okay, so these two will be used for the inside, so I'm going to put those aside for now, and we will work on our wraparounds. So the first thing, and like I said, these are 9 by 6 envelopes. I got the kind with the tape, so I am going to go ahead and seal these shut. And let's see, I'm not going to go below that little adhesive strip because that'll, well, it doesn't really matter because I'm not going to use the envelope. I am going to wrap around. You could use the envelope if you wanted to. Excuse me. You wouldn't need to wrap around the envelope. I just like the way it works. So I am going to go ahead and glue this whole thing down. Now, if you want it to be have more stability, feel free to put a piece of cardstock inside. I kind of like the way it feels when it's movable, not so stiff. So let's take this release paper off and go ahead and get this glued down. I probably should have filled up my glue bottle, but that's okay. All right. So I'm going to get my scoreboard here. And I want to take this envelope. I'm going to get my little scoring doodad. Okay. So, and if you see this and you're wondering, Marty, why my scissors aren't hanging on the wall, it's because they fell off right before I was going to bed and scared the crud out of me. So I need a little bit heavier, what do you call those things? Command strips. Heavy duty to get it to stay on my bookshelf over here. Anyway, so for now, I do have the caps. Well, I do have the caps on them in the jar to not break the tips. All right, so I folded this one in half, but really you would want to score this rather than just folding it. So I'm going to score this here, and then I'm going to score about a 1/4 inch. Well, not about. I'm going to score at a 1/4 inch on both sides. So really, I suppose I didn't need to score the first one because it was already scored. I need to go a little bit more because it is 2 layers, and this is a thicker paper. But this is going to give me a 1/2 inch spine, and I am going to use Tyvek on the inside here to reinforce that. So okay, and then we'll do this one, and before I squish it down, to use the technical term, I am making sure that this is lined up straight at the top of the envelope. They're not going to be perfect because, you know, they're mass produced by machine, but we'll get it almost there. Okay, so don't really need to score the middle one. I like to have that little score mark there because it helps me with my placement excuse me, of sewing in the signature, but really not necessarily not necessary to do so, but I like it. as a guide. So let's do, don't need to do the middle one as deep. So I'm coming over here at 4 3/4. And 4 1/4. I want to make sure that goes through the other side, and it did. Okay. So I'm not going to fold on the middle one. The only reason I folded on the other one was because that was how I was originally going to do it, and then I decided to go ahead and make a little 1/2 inch spine. So there we go. Use your bone folder so you can get a nice crisp line. Okay. So now Tyvek. Now this is the way the Tyvek comes that I buy. And I do have a link to this in the description box. I believe it came with 100 strips. It says they're 1 inch, but they're actually 3/4 of an inch. So I just tear them off. These are bracelets, and I believe they're printable. So well, I don't know that they would be printable at this, the way they're, I wouldn't want to run them through my printer. I'd have to investigate that a little bit more, but they work perfectly for this project. And for so many that I do. And I just dropped them all over the floor. Okay, so let's get this Tyvek on here. Because I'm wrapping around, I'm just going to do the Tyvek top to bottom and trim it off, and then we'll wrap around the covers. I'm also not worrying about these little pieces that are lifting up because they are going to be wrapped around. Ooh, stringy. Okay. And we will trim this off. And that just gives us a little more security in the folding so that when we sew in the signatures, we don't have to worry about it ripping through. The Tyvek is very durable. Okay. There was something else I was going to say and it flew right out of my head, so I suppose it wasn't important. Alrighty then. So I did go ahead and pre-score these and everything so that it will be a little bit easier when I get it wrapped. But I am not going to fold these again until after we have wrapped them and everything is dry. Because if I go ahead and fold, this will come away, and I don't want that to happen. So I want everything to dry, all the glue to dry perfectly. So let's start with this one. If I do about 1 inch, maybe 3/4 from the edge, that's on this side, 3/4 from there. I think I'd like to stay closer to this edge. So I am going to do a score line for myself as a guide, and I'm going to be very careful and do this. Let's see, this is the top, right? This is the top. So I'm going to score at 7.5. I'm going to use the large size so I don't rip through it. This is not for folding necessarily as much as I want to do this side now, as it is for giving me a line of where to put that envelope. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the other one as well. We want the top. So get myself turned around today. All right, let's see. I want to score this top piece first. So 1 inch. I was going to do 3/4, but I think I'll go ahead and do the inch. Then I don't have to worry about it. And then I want this side. So I'm just doing 1 inch from the edge. Okay. So now I know where to place my envelope. Okay. So I'm going to take this one, turn it this way. This is the page I want on the front. So this is going to line up here. Now you probably won't be able to see my score lines. I'm going to be lining it up with this piece at the top. So I'll go ahead and adhere. I guess I'll do half. Just a little bit easier to do half and then do the other half, especially when you're like me and you have a tendency to get glue everywhere. I'll probably go ahead and do the spine here. Okay, so I'm going to line this up on that score line. Like I said, you probably won't be able to see it, but I can see it like so. And then I'll lift this piece up. Okay, so I've got 1 inch top, 1 inch both sides. I'm going to trim this down to 1 inch here. Guess I don't need that piece. Yeah, so I'm going to trim off a 1/2 inch here. Okay. So I'm going to set that aside just for a second while we do the other piece. Okay, so now we want to cut the corners here, and I'm just leaving a smidge on the corners. Not quite 1/8 of an inch. Okay, now you could save all of those corners if you want, but I'm not going to. I'm going to use my little scoring tool, and I'm going to carefully outline this envelope like this, taking my time. That will help me fold these pieces over. I hope everybody's doing well. It's a nice day today in Fresno. We've had some really nice days, but I think it's supposed to rain again tomorrow. I can't believe it's already 2 weeks coming up, and we'll have our time change again. So all I'm doing here is wrapping around this little closure. Now I'm not worried about the corners. If you have a really thick envelope, you may want to press those corners, those little corner pieces down. But because this is so thin, I'm not worried about it. But see, it can be sharp on the corners if you're not careful. So there we go. All right, so this one's wrapped. Oh, isn't that going to be fabulous? Look how pretty that is. Great papers, G. I love these. Okay, so let's do the next one. And I've already gone around with my scoring tool on this one, so I'm just going to be folding. But there again, where's my bone folder? If you have a little bit of issue here, you can just flatten these out after you fold up those sides. And that'll keep you from getting those really sharp corners. I don't know if you can see that or not. I'll bring it up a little bit. But where you fold it over and it continues to go past the envelope, sometimes those can poke out. So if you just flatten it down with your bone folder, when you fold this piece up, it will be inside of there and you'll have a nice closure. Okay, but let's do the sides first. That is going to be so pretty. This is going to be here. So look how pretty that is. And then the butterfly wing on the back page. Love it. Love, love, love it. Okay, so let's cut these pieces down to use. I was seeing if I could use just one piece for both of them, and I think I can. So I want to use this one. Let's cut it in half. Half of 11 is going to be 5.5. I'll pull out my arm here. So let's do 5.5, not 6.5. Okay, so now I've got 2 pieces. And I think that may work just the way it is. Yes. Okay, so we are going to adhere that. Alright, so let's make, well, it doesn't really matter which way is the right way up because this is background. Okay, let's just center that top, bottom, left, right. It's about 1/4 of an inch all the way around, and that could not be more perfect. Alright, just like that. Alright, now I am going to let these, like I said, dry flat. And the reason I do that is because I don't want that Tyvek to come up and float around in between the layers, and I don't want anything to roll up. So I will lay this flat, and then when I come back, I'll probably go over and score gently on those lines again like we did in the beginning. I lost my other envelope. There it is. Okay, So let's put this one on. There we go. That looks awesome. So I will probably let's go ahead and ink. I need to. I think this week the Tim Holtz stuff is on half price. Although this doesn't have Tim Holtz name on it, does it? This is Ranger. So I don't know if this, yeah, it says Tim Holtz right there. So we'll see. I'm going to use the gathered twigs on this one. So I'm going to take my, I'm going to replace this sponge here because it is chewed up. But I am going to stick that in here. And I guess on the minis, this fits in there and you don't have to do anything special to it. But I need to get some Velcro dots for that. Yeah, I want to use this one. So I can't wait until those domed ones come out, the little domed sponges, because I think those will be so fun. You, because of the way these are cut, you have a sharp edge on these, but the domed ones aren't going to give you an edge. So I think those are going to be fabulous. If you want to know where to get one of these fabulous ink blenders, check out the Rambling Crafter on Etsy. Her husband, that's Shell Radcliffe, and her husband Clint makes these, and they are fabulous. I really like the way it feels in my hand, and yeah, I have enjoyed using this. So thanks Clint and Shell for this fabulous blender. Okay, so I'm just going to come around the edge here, add to some of that grunge. I'm not worrying about my mat because I'm going to clean it up with a baby wipe when I'm finished. And like I said, I'm using the gathered twigs. I think that one will look nice with this collection. And this way I'm getting the edge and the edge of that inner piece that we added because I didn't ink ahead of time. So that looks fun. Okay, then I am going to go just along the edge here like that, so we don't have the lighter showing, and then I'm going to come back along here like this again. I'm going to have ink all over my pinky. I'm not worried about where else this ink ends up on the back of this envelope because it's a grungy, shabby kit. Alright, so that one is done. Let's do this one. Now you know what's really cool is that I can put some spray down here and use all this ink that's on here to copy dye some fabric that I have on my left. So maybe I'll do that right now while you're watching. And if it doesn't turn out, I will I'll just edit that part out of the video. Okay? No, I won't. I like to show you guys my mistakes. Here's mistake number 1. Put the glue on the bottle. Okay, so let's get some spray. Don't need these scissors. Okay. Alright, so what have I got over here that I can throw in there? I've got a piece of white lace. Let's do a yard of that. I should have kept my scissors open. So we can do a yard of this. And mistake number 2, spray the fabric first so that you don't get the dark blobs. Then you can roll it together. But actually there's no mistake because, you know, in the end, it all works out. And it just turns out differently, that's all, than what you normally or originally had in mind. So, there we go. Used up that ink. And I've got some fabric here that's aged. And so what I do like to do is pull it out because I don't like it to dry. I don't like it to dry when it's all wrinkled up. The lace anyway. I do that with my seam binding because I usually don't use seam binding for a trim unless I'm going to wrinkle it up. So I usually come through here on my pieces of lace and kind of flatten them out a little bit. And then I have the chair. I have a wood ladder back chair over by my sewing machine, which is where I hang it to dry. Alright, so there we go. Bonus ribbon dyeing. You can see now, and I don't know if you can see, I can see how much yellow is in the gathered twigs from this piece. But remember, this was the original, so quite a bit of difference on this one. I really like that color, how that comes out. So, all right. Well, guys, I appreciate you hanging in with me today, and we'll be back next time, and we'll put the pages in. We'll cut them up and put them in. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.